Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Today we're going to talk about something I think would be interesting to many people, which is called powers of attorney. What you should and shouldn't do with regard to powers of attorney and what they mean. So, with that in mind, stay tuned. A power of attorney is a document that, when signed in front of a notary, in other words, you pretty much have to swear that this is your intent, a document signed in front of a notary that says, I authorize someone else to do some task or series of tasks for me. Now, one common way this comes about is when you're buying a new car and the dealer puts this thing in front of you called a power of attorney, and it says you grant them power of attorney to act for you to get this car licensed. That is what's called a limited power of attorney. In other words, the only thing you're authorizing them to do is title your car. You're not authorizing them to draft your bank or draft a trust instrument for you or do something else that is above and beyond licensing and titling your car. And that is a good kind of power of attorney to execute. There is another kind called a general power of attorney. And a general power of attorney authorizes someone to act for you as your agent in anything which you could do yourself. Now, I recently saw a question on Quora about how in the world can somebody have an attorney at law represent them when I hold their power of attorney? Well, the reason is quite simple. Attorney doesn't mean lawyer. Attorney essentially means an agent, a person appointed to act for you. That's why attorneys at law sign their documents attorney at law. There is a difference between an attorney in fact, which is what you create when you create a power of attorney, and an attorney at law. An attorney at law has to go through 3 or 4 years of law school and graduate and pass the bar exam in order to be considered an attorney at law. Anybody who is a non-felon can be appointed as a power of attorney. And depending on what the document itself says, they can accomplish any act that the document says they can accomplish after you sign that power of attorney for them. So that's why I believe in limited powers of attorney. If you want somebody to sell your boat, you give them the power of attorney to sell the boat. But in that power of attorney, you require them to deposit the money in your bank account, not their bank account. Anybody who's acting under a power of attorney has something called a fiduciary duty. In other words, they have to act on your behalf and your behalf only. They can't act for them at the expense of you. So, for example, if you want them and you give them power to sell your boat, right? And your boat is worth $5,000. And they go to their cousin Marvin and say, hey, cousin Marvin, why don't you pay me $1,000 for the boat and I'll sell you the boat and then I'll buy the boat from you for $1,100. And they go through that. That's called self-dealing and it's a breach of fiduciary duty. This is the reason why you want to make sure that when you grant someone a power of attorney, they are trustworthy. Because it is far more difficult to get the money back after it's taken than it is to keep from having the money stolen or the property stolen in the first place. So if you execute a power of attorney, make sure you're giving it to somebody that is very trustworthy. The next thing I want to talk about is something called a durable power of attorney. Now, a durable power of attorney is different than a power of attorney in this respect. If you hold the power of attorney for your wife and your wife suffers a stroke and is no longer competent to act for herself, then she is no longer competent to rescind the power of attorney. For that reason, the law says that if she is no longer competent, that power of attorney is automatically rescinded, unless you have set it up as a durable power of attorney. A durable power of attorney covers the situation in which someone may be impaired mentally or physically and unable to revoke the power of attorney. So again, just like with any power of attorney, when it comes to a durable power of attorney, you want to make very, very sure the person you're giving that durable power of attorney to is somebody that you can trust and that will act in your best interest and will do things that you would want done. Finally, the last power of attorney I want to talk about is the durable power of attorney for health care, and for heaven's sakes, this is the most important power of attorney to have. When I was a respiratory therapist, I saw dozens of people who lay in the ICU, unable to speak, unable to communicate their wishes, and that we could continue to keep breathing and their heart could keep beating for days and days and days, but they were never coming back. Their brain was pretty much not going to let them ever be a functional human being again. And rather than torture that person for that period of time, there is a process where life support can be withdrawn. But it usually can't be withdrawn unless the person holds either a durable power of attorney for healthcare, which grants that person the right to make healthcare decisions, or they are appointed as a guardian. And in some instances, if they're simply the next of kin, if the only next of kin is a wife, then a lot of times the doctors will accept that information as authority to go ahead and remove life support. Okay? But even then, doctors have to be careful because sometimes people get divorced, women get divorced and don't change their last name, and they may come in and say, well, I'm the wife of so-and-so, when in fact they are the ex-wife. I know of that happening in at least one instance. So it is very important for you to, if at all possible, not only get a durable power of health care, a durable power of attorney for health care, and give it to someone that you love and trust, but also give a copy of it to your physician so that in the event he has to inform somebody or make a decision about your health care and he can't ask you, he knows who to talk to. All right. That's really all we have to talk about today with regard to powers of attorney. I hope you found this interesting or helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'd really appreciate a like on this, a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, go over here and subscribe to our channel because it would really help me out if you would subscribe. It makes YouTube aware that this is good content and helpful content to other people. Thank you so much for watching. Have a marvelous day, and I will catch you on here next time.